And thanks for coming at lunchtime. Uh, so my talk is about smart Bitcoin and how Miniscript enables it. It's not super technical and it's not super businessy, but it should be enough that you guys live with a good intuition of what it is and why it's valuable. The idea is to give you a little bit of context of why this matters. What is a script? What is Miniscript? As you can see with the naming, they are related, and some interesting use cases. So why should we care about Miniscript? And I think one big reason is that people are afraid of losing their Bitcoin, and they should be. Thousands of people have lost their Bitcoin to reputable institutions, whether because they were getting paper Bitcoin or because the custodian lost their primary keys. And I lost some Bitcoin at FTX. I know, I'm ashamed of admitting it, but I did. And we are told that not your keys, not your Bitcoin, and that you really have to take care of your Bitcoin yourself. But having the right self-custody strategy is not trivial. And these are old stories, but I think we recognize these people. And they lost private keys or passwords to their private keys, and now they're going to spend the rest of their lives angrily looking for hundreds of millions in some city dumpster. So it really is tough to balance trusting someone else or trusting yourself with custody. And according to Chainalysis, 20% of all Bitcoin has been lost forever. And this is not lost by, it wasn't stolen, it wasn't a hacker. It was lost by their own holders. I met some Bitcoin Core developers, and even they lost some Bitcoin. They were trying to do this fancy encryption, and at the end they couldn't unwrap it, and they lost it. So it's not only grandmas, it's not only me, other people also lose Bitcoin. And a useful way to think about custody is if you have a quadrant and you have self-custody on the right and third-party custody on the left, and then you have above recoverable and less recoverable, we really want to have a way in which we can hold our own coins, but still, if life happens, we can recover them. And this is where Miniscript can play a role. In the past, we've only had low recoverability or very, very unforgiving custody strategies. And what we're trying to do is trying to move up in this quadrant. And this is where Bitcoin script comes in. And Satoshi always wanted programmable Bitcoin. It was right there since the beginning. He wanted to have a smarter Bitcoin that you could program, and he started to work on this, but for some reason he stopped and he left it half done. I don't think it's incorrect to say that it's half done. And Script, the original programming language for Bitcoin developed by Satoshi, is built very similar to another programming language called Forth, which does stacking, meaning that it piles up rules. And Forth was really popular between the late 70s and early 80s. I think that gives us an idea of how old Satoshi was or is. But he should be around 60 or 70 years old if he was using that as a reference. This is pure conjecture, obviously. So this is how this stacking language works, right? It just piles on rules, and it has a lot of limitations. And the original script had 250-60 opcodes, and only 56 of them are useful. So this is what I mean. If you so Miniscript was invented by Andrew Palestra, and he goes on in the talk that he introduces it, he goes on for 1 hour complaining about how complicated script is. And this is because it really, there are things like 17 of these opcodes fail if they're not even executed. If you just have them on a branch, if you just for some reason put them in your script, it will fail and you will lose your Bitcoin forever. So it's really clunky. It's error prone, it's really hard to read. I'm going to give you guys an example in a second. It's hard to know if the condition can be replaced or not, so it can be very insecure, and it's hard to read. So, and if you mess up, well, you're screwed, right? Your Bitcoin is locked forever. And this is where Miniscript comes in. Miniscript is really like a script engine that very smart people built so that we can use a script without messing it up. And it was invented by Andrew Polestra and Peter Woolley. This is a drunk selfie of me with Peter Woolley. And Miniscript is a structured language that simplifies Bitcoin scripting. At the end, it generates script. Right? It's just an interface that it makes it very easy for everyone to code rules into it. And it prevents errors, and it's very understandable. So we're going to go through a very, very easy example. You're going to see a little bit of script and Miniscript code, but it's going to be very easy to understand. And the use case here is going to be a made-up use case of Alice. Right? We cannot leave Alice out of the conference. But Alice is going to, in order to use this address, in order to move, so let's imagine that somebody moves Bitcoin to Alice's address, and this address has a script that says that she has to use 2 keys, her laptop key and her cell phone key. And if she loses her phone, we're going to let her that in 10 days, she's going to only need her laptop key to move the funds out. So this is one of the, it's a simple kind of conditions that you could program into an address. And this is how it looks in the script. So if Alice's laptop or Alice's mobile pub key, then you can move the funds. Otherwise, it's going to be 10 days, and you drop Alice's laptop key. And in Miniscript, you have the similar logic here. As you can see, it's a little bit easier to read in Miniscript, right? So you have an AND condition with two of the keys, or you have the 10 days plus one of the keys. Now let's imagine that we want to remove the last condition. Let's imagine that we want to go, so instead of having either phone or laptop, we want to have days or cell phone, we just want to keep the first one. How would we remove it from Miniscript? It's very easy, right? So you just scratch the parts of the second condition and remove the first OR. And you end up with what you had inside, you just take it out and you put it here. This might seem convoluted, but it's going to make sense in a second, I hope. And in a script, you would assume, right, if you're thinking the same kind of logic, you would just remove the if and you remove the second part of the condition. And you would assume that this is the new script that is removing the second condition. But in reality, you would be wrong and you would lose your Bitcoin if you do it on the script layer instead of the Miniscript layer. So what I'm showing here is that if you just look at the code and you assume based on common sense the way you would remove or add a condition, you would end up with a script that is not going to work. And the reason why, and this is the kind of little kinks that would mess you up in a script, is that in a script, by just removing this, you're leaving, right? You're assuming this would be wrong, because you're missing this O condition. So the check multisig in a script is there is a bug, and it looks for an additional condition besides the ones that you specify. And this bug is now in Bitcoin Core, and it cannot be really fixed. So the way it's fixed is by adding an additional layer to the stacking logic, so that check multisig doesn't error out. In summary, just like this, there are dozens of little kinks in script that would make it very easy for you and me to lose your Bitcoin when you try to program something. So Miniscript is great because it simplifies the creation of Bitcoin scripts. It can be verified. There are visuals that let you see what is the logic, and it can help you confirm what it's doing. It's optimized. Its spending conditions are as economical as possible, and it's composable, which is what I was trying to show in the previous example, that you can just remove a chunk and put it and create very flexible conditions. And Miniscript doesn't do everything that the script does, but it does three key things. It controls signatures, it controls time locks, and it controls hash locks. So hash locks is, let's say that you want to have proof that somebody has a document or a secret before they unlock that Bitcoin. That is what a hash lock would do. So in summary, Miniscript codifies rules into receiving addresses, and it makes Bitcoin safer to hold, easier to recover, and unlocks powerful use cases. And we're starting to see some companies build on Miniscript, like Anchor Watch, that is blending it with insurance, Liana for inheritance, and Smart Vaults, that is a team that I'm part of. So we're still in self-custody, but it's becoming more recoverable, and you're going to see this in the next use cases. So I'm sure that the social recovery case is something you guys have heard. But imagine that Tuan has 2 Bitcoin in Coinbase, and he's worried about what he's reading. He trusts Coinbase, but he knows that he probably wants to have at least part in self-custody. He doesn't want to deal with all the keys and worry that he might lose them. So he's going to use a Miniscript wallet and set it up so that if in a year of inactivity, meaning that he lost his keys, one of his friends can help him recover funds. And I actually was about to buy Bitcoin for my dad a few weeks ago. And when I told him that if he lost his keys, he was going to lose his Bitcoin forever, he panicked. Right? He had his passwords in a Post-it note below his contact book, and really, once you're trying to get someone into Bitcoin and into self-custody, having a recovery option is huge. So think about communities, think about Bitcoin advisors, but the fact that you can program in Miniscript the logic for you to control your Bitcoin, but after a certain time, that Bitcoin can be accessed by someone else, and you can continue renewing that time, but at least you will have a recovery plan that is pretty powerful. Another key use case that we're seeing is the key agents. So, and key agents are really like professional cosigners. And think of Matthew as the leader of Honduras Bitcoin Beach. And he's trying to get a lot of new people to adopt Bitcoin without them losing it, so he can function as a recovery agent through a Miniscript wallet. He can also provide collaborative custody for donations, meaning that either him or one of the donors have to be a cosigner. Think about like a one of three. And he also can lock part of the funds and just unlock them with a specific cadence. So maybe people are willing to give you 10 Bitcoin for a project, but they just want you to unlock 25% every year for 4 years. All of that is doable with Miniscript. So before I continue, are there any questions so far about these use cases? Sure.
I don't trust any of my friends. How can you be sure that your friends will recover and take your Bitcoin?
Right. So I made the use case community leader here. We are actually talking to a couple of like high net worth Bitcoin advisors. And these are guys that deal with people that have like hundreds of millions in Bitcoin. And the way they do, I mean, they're like professional cosigners. So, or professional recovery agents. And they have the whole legal structure and they have maybe keys with their lawyers. But yeah, a lot of people don't trust their friends or I mean, not enough to trust them with Bitcoin. So we see an emergence of key agents where they can play this role like professionally. And if anyone is interested in being like, we're giving this product for free for any community. And if people are interested in being like professional cosigners, they can let us know. And this takes us to the key agents. So key agents, we believe that key agents are going to be an important part of what enables this Miniscript revolution. It's going to be these professional cosigners that can help people recover and custody their funds in a more recoverable way. And on top of this, we have, I think, many other use cases that Miniscript enables. So think about treasuries, where you can have the CEO always signing plus 3 of the VPs. For fundraising, you can have a lot more transparency and control over the funds. Escrow is a natural use case where when a condition is met, the funds are released. You can deal with oracles. For crowdfunding, for vesting schedules, we actually, one of the employees in the company has a Miniscript wallet where Bitcoin gets released every 6 months. Recovery, collaborative custody, multi-institutional collaborative custody, fund administration, inheritance and trust, and subscriptions. You can also choose how much to release in a specific time frame. So Miniscript has some limitations, but we believe it's going to make smart Bitcoin a reality, and there's a lot of companies betting on it. To put this in context, in Ethereum, 25% of all Ethereum value is locked in what they call safe, Gnosis safes, which is really a smart wallet. In Bitcoin, this is just starting, and we think it's going to be big. And now a shameless plug: we're building a Miniscript wallet along with other companies, and I just want to know if you guys have any questions about Miniscript and how it can be used, what we have seen. Miniscript on what? Okay. So the question was, what is the situation with Miniscript on Lightning? I think right now, really Miniscript only works on mainnet, but there are some ideas on how to make Lightning more programmable. But yeah, but right now by definition it's only on mainnet. Yeah.
A question here is there any testing tools? So when I first get into like Ethereum, I realized it's like you write a script and you write a small contract. If there's a bug, it's out there. I'm scared because it's like there's no way you can fix it later on, right? So
yeah.
for Miniscript, it's like why should I trust the Miniscript written by you? And then just blindly trust it without testing it myself. So is there any testing tools that can look at a sample contract and then test it in multiple scenarios to make sure like I will not lose my fund
Yeah.
if someone screw up?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So Miniscript already does a lot of the testing. Miniscript doesn't let you compile a script code that has no way to retrieve the funds. And that is part of the problem that's solving. But even then, right, you do need to do a lot of testing, and the advice is always to do as simple of a script as possible. But the answer to your question would be, yeah, you do need to do testing, but a lot of the heavy lifting, a lot of the heavy lifting has been done by developers of Miniscript.
It's a Turing machine, there's no hard problem, there's no way there's drop into a black hole that's the fund get lost forever. Is that what you just said?
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, Miniscript will not let you compile, and we get these errors, right? We have a UI that lets you like drag and drop and create some conditions, and it will not let you build a Miniscript will just not let you put something incoherent, as a script would. Yeah. So it does take care of most of those concerns.
What is the process for common Bitcoin wallets today to start implementing Miniscript?
So I think they do need, a lot of the wallets already support it, but other wallets do need to implement, like Coinbase, for example. I don't know if you've seen when Mini Taproot or when Taproot script, but there are some, it's like an hour and it's like a day and a half of development, not an hour and a half, but like a day and a half of development for companies to support it. But every address really is a script address. It's just a very simple logic where it just requires those keys. So script is used in, like, all of us are script users. It's just when you want to do something fancier, when you are safer using Miniscript than using script directly. Yeah.
For the social part of this, for the recovery that you were talking about with smart vaults, what's the transport layer for social? Is it like email, Nostr, Twitter, X? Like, how do you do the communication between social parties, and can users have multiple options there?
Okay. So we're built on top of Nostr. I don't know if anybody here is using Nostr, but the whole ID layer and the whole communication is built on Nostr. So, yeah. Anything else? Otherwise? Oh yeah, smart vaults. Yeah. But Miniscript is cool before smart vaults. So Miniscript is really interesting to look at.
Any comments on VPN?
It comes with VPN.
There's a VPN uses, is that you can drive.
I'm not sure I heard you. Sorry. Bits?
The question was, what do you think of BitVM?
I don't know. I haven't looked yet.
You don't have an opinion. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah, the architect, the technical founder of the company was supposed to come, but he went on a trip with his family. But yeah, happy to answer that in Twitter. Anything else?
I heard there was a way you could send, using Miniscript, your Bitcoin into the future and pick them up at a block time in the future. Are your wallets starting to consider those type of actions of keeping coins safe on the ledger by sending it forward?
I heard the first part of the question about keeping your Bitcoin like in HODL, right?
Yeah, being able to put, using Miniscript to send your coins so that they're only released at a certain block number in the future, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you work out whether your wallet has a Miniscript address on top of it or not?
So you can do reverse. So if you grab an address in Bitcoin, you can see what is the script there, and then you can build the Miniscript visual. So there are ways to reverse all of this and know what's happening. And just the time lock functionality, you can do it at the block level, or you can do it at the specific time, and it will follow the miner's time. Yeah. I think that's it. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. And I'm terribly sorry because I should have introduced the as a representative of Smart Vaults, but that was a really fantastic presentation. I feel like I know more about Miniscript than I did before, and in a few minutes we are going to have Brandon Black, a Bitcoin wallet developer, a big Taproot bull, also a degen inscriptions fan. And Brandon is going to talk about covenants. Do we need covenants on Bitcoin? Are covenants going to give governments the ability to create restrictive spend conditions? No, they won't. You know, do covenants scale Bitcoins to millions of people? Maybe they do. Who knows? Let's ask Brandon.